You remember when you first joined this company. 3 years ago, 20-person team. Everyone working late together, ordering pizza, genuinely excited about shipping the product. Your CEO would walk around asking how everyone was doing. Not in a performative way, like they actually cared. You'd stay late not because anyone asked you to, but because you wanted to. You believed in what you were building. Then the company raised a Series B, scaled to 150 people, brought in professional management, and 6 months ago, they rolled out the new compensation structure. Performance bonuses tied to individual KPIs, quarterly reviews with stack rankings, a dashboard showing everyone's numbers. Your manager explained it in the all hands. We want to reward high performers. This is how we stay competitive. And something died. The Slack channels got quieter. People stopped jumping in to help other teams. Last week, you stayed late to help a colleague debug something. They seemed almost suspicious. Why are you helping me? Don't you have your own targets to hit? You went home feeling sad. That question never would have been asked 2 years ago. Here's what's confusing you. The company's paying you more now than ever. The bonuses are real. But everyone seems more cynical, less engaged, less willing to go above and beyond. You're starting to wonder, did we accidentally kill the thing that made this place special? And can we ever get it back? Welcome to episode 4 of our deep dive into Predictably Irrational. I'm Marcus, of Book Takeaways for Professional Growth podcast. Quick recap. Episode 1. How that first salary number anchors you and cascades through your career, costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Episode 2. Why procrastination isn't about willpower. It's about design. Hot brain versus cool brain. Episode 3. How your expectations literally shape your performance through real biological changes. This week, we're tackling something that affects every team and every organization. Motivation itself. Why do some teams work crazy hours on modest pay, while others with competitive salaries are completely disengaged? Why did your startup lose its culture when it scaled? Why did that performance bonus program actually make people work less, not more? Here's the pattern. It's not about the money. It's about which motivational system your organization activated. And Ariely's research shows that mixing these two systems is one of the deadliest mistakes a leader can make. Once you make this mistake, you can't easily undo it. The damage is permanent. Let's get into it. Segment 1. 2 worlds, 2 rules. Here's something most organizations don't understand. Humans operate in 2 completely different motivational systems. These systems have different rules. They produce different behaviors. They activate different parts of your brain. Social norms. Think about helping a friend move. Saturday morning, 8 a.m. You show up with coffee. You carry boxes for 3 hours. You organize their kitchen. You work hard. You feel good about it. You don't think about being paid. In fact, if your friend pulled out their wallet at the end and said, "Here's $30 for your time," you'd feel weird about it, maybe insulted. We're friends. You don't pay me for this. Why? Because you're operating in the world of social norms. You're helping someone you care about. There's no explicit transaction. You do it because the relationship matters. Market norms. Now imagine a moving company hires you for the day. Same work, carrying boxes for 3 hours, but everything feels different. You show up at 8 a.m. because that's when your shift starts. You work at a steady pace. You take your lunch break. You clock out at 11 a.m. because that's when your shift ends, even if boxes remain. At the end, you expect your paycheck. If they said, "Actually, we can't pay you, but thanks for your help," you'd be furious. That's theft. Why? Because you're operating in market norms. It's a transaction. Clear, explicit, contracted. Both systems work in their own context. Social norms produce incredible motivation. People work harder and longer for a cause they believe in than for money. They go above and beyond. They collaborate freely. Market norms produce reliable performance. People show up. They do the work. They follow the contract. Both are rational within their own context. The problem comes when you mix them. And here's where Ariely's insight becomes critical. Once you introduce market norms into a social context, social norms nearly disappear. And you can't get them back just by removing the money. The shift is permanent. Segment 2. The Volunteers Experiment. Ariely ran an experiment that perfectly captures this collision of motivational worlds. He asked volunteers to perform a tedious task, dragging circles on a computer screen into a box, over and over, for 5 minutes straight. Incredibly boring work. He split participants into 3 groups. Group 1, the social norm group. Ariely said, "We're doing research. Would you help us? We'd really appreciate it." No payment mentioned. Result: 168 circles dragged in 5 minutes. They worked hard. Group 2, the high payment group. Ariely said, "We'll pay you $5 for this task. That's $60 per hour. Decent pay." Result: 159 circles. Slightly worse than the no payment group. Less work for more money. Group 3, the low payment group. Ariely said, "We'll pay you 50 cents for this task. A token amount." Result: 101 circles. The worst performance of all 3 groups. What just happened? The moment Ariely introduced money, everything changed. Group 1 operated in social norms. They were helping the researcher, contributing to science. So they worked hard, 168 circles. Group 2 heard $5 and switched into market norms. Their brain started evaluating. Is $5 fair for 5 minutes of boring work? What's the minimum acceptable performance for $5? In that calculation, the social motivation evaporated. They worked less, 159 circles. Group 3 thought, 50 cents? That's insulting. They gave minimum effort, 101 circles. The critical pattern. Social norms. I'm contributing to something that matters, equals 168 circle. Market norms, high pay. I'm being paid for this transaction, equals 159 circles. Market norms, low pay. I'm being paid poorly for this transaction, equals 101 circles. And here's the kicker. Ariely tried to switch them back. After paying volunteers, he said, "Now I'd like to ask you as a favor, with no payment, to do this again." But the damage was done. The offer to work without pay now felt like exploitation. Their performance stayed low. Once you activate market norms, you can't easily go back to social norms. The bell can't be unrung. Segment 3. The Daycare Experiment. Permanent damage. This next experiment shows the long-term consequences of mixing norms, and it's a real-world case study. The problem. An Israeli daycare center had parents frequently picking up kids late. Teachers had to stay late to supervise. It was disruptive. The daycare director decided to solve it with market norms. They instituted a fine. If you pick up your child more than 10 minutes late, you'll be charged $10. What happened? Late pickups actually increased significantly. Before the fine, parents felt guilty. They were imposing on teachers, breaking an implicit social contract. That guilt managed the behavior. After the fine, the guilt converted into a transaction. Parents did the math. Is $10 worth finishing this meeting? Yes, actually. That's a good deal. The fine wasn't high enough to deter in market terms, but it was high enough to destroy the social norm. The guilt disappeared. Then came the devastating part. After several weeks, the daycare removed the fine. We're going back to relying on goodwill. Surely late pickups would drop back, right? Wrong. Late pickups stayed elevated. Parents kept coming late. The guilt never returned. Why? Because the social norm had been destroyed. Once parents learned, the daycare sees this as a transaction, not a relationship. They couldn't unlearn it. Even when the price was removed, the psychological shift remained. The damage was permanent. This is the pattern Ariely warns about. Mixing social and market norms creates permanent damage. The social motivation doesn't return when you remove the financial incentive. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Segment 4. The Professional Application. Now, let's bring this to your workplace. Because this is happening right now in organizations everywhere. The culture decay pattern. Phase 1. Social norms dominate. The organization starts small. Startup culture. We're like a family. We're building something together. People work crazy hours. They help each other across teams. They're motivated by mission and belonging. The pay is modest, but nobody cares because the work matters. Phase 2. Market norms get introduced. The organization grows. Investors get involved. HR implements best practices, performance bonuses. If you meet this target, you get $10,000. Individual KPIs. Your promotion depends on your personal metrics. Stack ranking. Bottom 10% are on a performance plan. Phase 3. Social norms collapse. Suddenly, people are less collaborative. They hoard information. They focus on individual metrics instead of team success. They stop going above and beyond. Leaders complain. What happened to our culture? We're paying them more than ever. Here's what happened. You introduced market norms. The relationship shifted from, we're in this together, to, here's what we'll pay you for performance. People's brains made the shift. What's the minimum I need to hit my metrics? Why should I help other teams if it doesn't count toward my KPI? Why work weekends if I'm not being paid extra? The social motivation evaporated. And you can't get it back just by saying, but we're still a family. You've already shown them it's a transaction. The leader's framework. As a leader, make a strategic choice. Which motivational frame do you want to activate? If you choose social norms, focus on mission, belonging, shared purpose. Pay fairly so money isn't a concern, but don't use money as a motivator. Create team-based goals, not individual competition. Celebrate collaboration. Be careful about introducing performance bonuses. If you choose market norms, be clear about expectations and compensation. Use performance bonuses and individual metrics. Focus on transactions. You deliver X, we pay Y. Don't talk about family or mission. It will ring hollow. Accept that you'll get compliance, not discretionary effort. The critical mistake. You can't have it both ways. You can't say we're like a family on Monday and implement individual performance bonuses on Tuesday. You'll destroy the social frame. The research is clear. Social norms produce higher discretionary effort, more collaboration, more creativity, more resilience, longer tenure. Market norms produce reliable, predictable performance, clear accountability, but limited to what's explicitly measured. Ariely's conclusion. Money, as it turns out, is the most expensive way to motivate people. Social norms are not only cheaper, but often more effective as well. For individual contributors, in a social norm environment, protect it. Don't introduce transactional thinking. Don't say, "That's not in my job description." In a market norm environment, understand social motivation won't work here. Focus on your individual metrics. Job hunting. Pay attention during interviews. Do they emphasize mission and team, or compensation and individual performance? Your satisfaction depends on whether you thrive in that frame. The paradox. Money is actually the most expensive and least effective way to motivate people for complex work. Organizations pay more and get less motivation, less collaboration, less creativity. The startup with modest salaries and strong mission often outperforms the corporate giant with big bonuses and no purpose. Segment 5. Your action point. Here's your action point for this week. Assess one team or organization you're part of. Is it operating primarily in social norms or market norms? Social norm signals. People talk about mission, purpose, making a difference. Team members help each other freely. People work beyond job descriptions. When someone struggles, the team rallies. Compensation is fair, but rarely discussed. Market norm signals. Conversations focus on individual targets and bonuses. People guard their work and compete for recognition. Job descriptions are strictly followed. When someone struggles, others focus on their own metrics. Compensation is frequently discussed and compared. Once you identify the dominant norm, ask, 1. Is this system consistent, or is leadership trying to have it both ways? 2. Does this match your motivational style? You need to know which energizes you. 3. If you're a leader, are you protecting the right norm? The awareness changes everything. Once you understand which motivational system is active, you can stop trying to activate social motivation in a market norm environment. Recognize when your organization is poisoning social norms with poorly designed incentives. Make better career decisions about where you'll thrive. Lead more effectively by being consistent with your motivational frame. Preview and outro. So we've established that mixing social and market norms is organizationally deadly. Once you introduce money explicitly into a social context, the social motivation evaporates, and it doesn't come back. Now, here's a question. Why do you stay in situations longer than makes sense? Why can't organizations let go of dying products? Why does that side project you started 3 years ago still consume your weekends, even though it's going nowhere? This is the ownership trap, and it's the final piece of Predictably Irrational we're exploring. It's about loss aversion and the endowment effect. Once you own something, a title, a project, a company, you overvalue it just because it's yours. You can't see it objectively anymore. We'll explore how to create psychological distance so you can make strategic decisions about what to hold on to and what to release. This is about knowing when to stay and when to go. You get access to this bonus episode when you sign up for the Book Takeaways for Professional Growth newsletter. Find the subscribe link in the notes or description. I'll also place it in the pinned comment below. Ariely's research is clear. You can have high engagement through social norms, or you can have market-based incentives. But you can't have both in the same domain. Once you introduce money explicitly, you've chosen the market frame, and the social frame won't come back. The question for leaders: which frame do you want to activate, and are you willing to be consistent? The question for team members: which motivational frame do you thrive in, and are you in the right environment? Thanks for listening to Book Takeaways for Professional Growth. I'm Marcus. Next week, we're starting a new book, Decisive by Chip and Dan Heath. The science of making better decisions when the stakes are high. Like and subscribe so you don't miss it. Keep reading, keep growing, and remember, your mistakes aren't character flaws, they're patterns. And patterns can be designed around.